Hey, good afternoon. This is YourDevastator giving my review of Resident Evil 3. Just letting you know this is spoiler filled, so if you have not beat the game at least once, I would not watch this. Thanks for listening. Let me know your thoughts. 6 about 6 a.m. yesterday. Played it all day yesterday. My first playthrough was on hardcore. Beat it in about 5 hours and 10, 15 minutes, something like that. First impressions was great. Loved it. Um, and then started going back through after um, unlocking some stuff and going like, oh, okay, this is how you do this, and that's what that is, whatever. Clean up some achievements, stuff like that. And after kind of thinking about it and stewing on it, and then watching one of my favorite streamers, Maximilian Dude, him also played through it. Some of his kind of complaints bubbling through as his play was going along as well, kind of made me sit and reflect on my issues with the game. Which again, I loved it first. I was like, this is a 9.5. Couple of gripes here and there, but nothing too crazy. Already knew there was two game modes, as you can see here, ahead of hardcore, so I was like, I'll see what those offer too, before I even fully pass a review thoughts or collection of review thoughts. But some things that bubble through him, I'll hit it too, because I agree / I experienced them firsthand. But essentially, as of right now, I'd probably give this game anywhere from a 1 to 10, 5 being like I would just rent this, but it's pretty, yeah, and I'll never play it again. A 5, that's a 5. And 0 is this is terrible. It's a waste of freaking money. I shouldn't have bought this. 0, and 10 is this is perfect. This game's awesome. I'd probably give it a like an 8.3 or 8.5, to be honest. As reference, I find Resident Evil 2 Remake to be damn near perfect, and like a 9.8, 9.9, if not 10. Love that game. My main issue with this game, it also can be summed up with this very broad statement, and I'll expand upon it, but the initial statement is this. I get the distinct impression that the game dev designers, Capcom and M2, who actually made the game, but they did together. Like Peter Fabano works for Capcom. He's not like an M2 dude. It's both these people working together. It's not purely just Capcom, or it's not purely just M2. It's a joint dev of this game. So let's just get that clear. It was a clear effort and response to some professional journalism, as air quotes that, complaints of RE2 Remake, saying the game was hard, that the game was a little bit too hard, kind of confusing and kind of hard. Now again, not to the super detriment of the game, because obviously it's widely praised as an awesome game, but it was just like, yeah, it's kind of hard, it's kind of tough. And even OG Resident Evil 3, it's kind of hard. It's kind of in your face. There's more zombies. Initially, if you don't know what you're doing, there's less ammo until you realize how you can make it, build it, get a lot of it, just kind of avoid enemies, and then by the end you're, yeah. So it seemed to be a conscious design effort by this dev team to be easier than almost any other main RPG game. Like, I want to say almost ever, to be honest. Like, it's pretty insane to me, some of the design choices, but it's pretty clear they wanted you to blow through this game. They wanted you to beat it and feel empowered. And you rock it. It's just for you. Like, you can do this, you got this. Even on Inferno, one of the main staples, you have to use ingrams to save. That's not in this game at all. It's one of those choices of like, hey man, that really takes away any sense of like I gotta watch what I'm doing. I gotta think about this strategically. It's a little bit of a stressor. There's no stressor at this at all. At all. There's really not. There's never like a massive horde of zombies or respawning through broken cars or something, and they just keep respawning. Nemesis doesn't just walk around and spawn off screen and just appear and then despawns because you damaged them. So he kind of goes into another room and despawns immediately off screen. Like, that's not a thing. You know what I mean? The game is very designed to be easy and go forward. So, to kind of recap that, my major issue with this game is that it is designed to be easy for the player to progress and beat it. Almost on any difficulty besides Nightmare and Inferno if you don't use the infinite ammo unlocks and healing regen stuff and whatnot. Besides those two, like Assisted Standard Hardcore, they're super freaking easy. Like insanely easy. The game, it's literally designed to be easy. From the number of enemies, the enemies you would have to face, the design and use of Nemesis as literally a story progression pusher. Meaning, as I kind of just mentioned a few moments ago, he does not just randomly appear off screen and then comes into a room and messes around with you until you knock him down. He literally only appears to force you to move on to the next cinematic progression point. Which goes into another issue of the same design is made for to be ease of use. Everything is cinematically teleported. There isn't a I now have to traverse from the subway thing to the RPD as Carlos, whereas from the RPD to go find Jill, or if I find Jill, back to the hospital, or Jill, the very first thing in the game. That first 10-15 minutes, that was just a giant long trailer with you interactively pushing up. And that struck me immediately. I was like, why is this a thing? Why was it done this way? Especially since this game has been in dev for 3 years. Like, I don't know why this game was made to be easy. Super easy. The achievements are easy. Like, it was made to be very, very easy. And things were cut out to make it even easier. To make it super linear. You can't get lost in this game. Only way you can like super get lost is if you just get frustrated in, say, the hospital setting. Like, but otherwise, the game is extremely straightforward. There isn't backtracking to any sort of extent that I can really remember. It's off my head. There really isn't. Extremely minimal. And another issue of the game design easy. There's like 3 puzzles in this game that require more than a wet fart of thought to solve. Like the train thing, which is pretty freaking easy anyway. Setting the train route. And then essentially the only one I can think of off the top of my head is just the vaccination creation at the very end. Which was just like a variation of like the water puzzle, just simplified. Besides that, there's no puzzles. There's not even like a little quirky things to solve on like the jewel boxes. There's not jewel boxes to unlock something else or whatever. Which again, on that one specifically, I know that's a response to the critique people had of the OG RE3 of like, this game's got backtracking. Like silly backtracking. We're in the middle of a functioning city. Why would this forest gate or whatever have 3 random jewels that are up a zombie's butt in a jewel box, and then in the RPD to open this park gate? Like, what the hell? This makes no damn sense. Like, it was annoying a little bit. The backtracking in that game was a little annoying. But during those backtracking segments, you saw Nemesis. He randomly would spawn or whatever. If you go to the RPD, then he starts spawning or whatever it is. There's some trigger for him to casually spawn as stage 1 Nemi. And that's not here. It does not happen this way. So again, it's under this big umbrella thought of like, make this game easy so that anyone can play this. I'm talking anybody. So whether it was respond directly from RE2 remake of like, oh, it's a little bit too hard, or original Resident Evil 3 of like, it's kind of hard, and all that backtracking was kind of needless. It was just a time filler, which, again, very unique situation with original RE3 because that is super short crunch of like, you will make this game in a year essentially. You will make it work. Like, do it. This is not going to be delayed. Like that park segment at the very end was just like thrown in the last minute. Like the last couple months, it's just to make the game a little bit longer because they were trying to make it longer because they weren't going to have a second scenario or anything. Excuse me. Like RE2 had. So they're like, they just add in a couple little sections here and there. Which I know people are complaining about with this game of like, oh, well, there's no like true clock tower area. You battle stage 2 Nemesis in the plaza of a clock tower, but the whole section's essentially wiped. That's not there. The Dev Factory is now a lab. That one makes more sense because it's underneath the hospital and the whole point was to like dispose of things / cure stuff, so that makes more sense. That one I'm fine with. No problem with that. Then like some abandoned factory in the middle of the woods, whatever. Like the cutting of enemies, like there's no giant grave digger weird thing. I kind of knew they weren't going to do that, or gigantic spiders. There's still no crows, even though they mentioned it in like Jill's letter. I kind of assumed it might have been like a crow or two somewhere, but nope, not even crows. But they said in several interviews leading up to this game that they were actually trying to make it more... they were going for that realism feel of like, this is a real city that just happens to get super fucked up. And if you go downtown or whatever, you're not going to have all these crazy puzzles where you got to put a battery in the back of a statue, a concrete statue. It's going to rotate and then give you a magnum or some shit. It's like, it didn't make much sense. The puzzles in original RE3 didn't make much sense. And before you mentioned RE1 or 2, think about who designed where those games occurred in the game's lore. Like Spencer, crazy umbrella people had, Trevor design it with all these traps and shit, and he didn't realize what he was doing until after the fact. But they're crazy sociopaths. RE2, mostly in the police station, an old museum, so that this gives you an opportunity to be like, well, it could be unique things in here and availabilities and avenues to essentially use to add weird or unique puzzles in it. And then also who's in charge of it. Chief Irons, who's literally a rapist and a killer and just a psychopath. Hence why they went to the whole converted museum into a police station thing, because the original 1.5 RE was modeled after like, quote, a realistic police station, and they just found it boring. It was like, okay, there's just a security card to go because it's a weapons locker room, and that's it. Like, it was too realistic, and they're like, oh, this is kind of boring. There's no uniqueness to it, So, from OG RE3, this is a normal city. I get that it's run by Umbrella, but why would it just have some random puzzles and needless backtracking? So they distinctively tried to make the game easier with no backtracking. And I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't really care for backtracking that much at all. But when there's like zero amount of it, and the Nemesis, unfortunately, is really, his only purpose is to progress the story by forcing you to leave an area, that's disappointing. That's the epitome of disappointment. And I know when the RE3 devs saw what they did with Mr.X in RE2, and they were kind of like, bro, you kind of, I don't know if you kind of made him like Nemesis, and they were like, well, I might have to kind of readjust this and stuff of like, well, in that, at this point, it's speculation. I don't know if that meant to like he was originally going to be more just walking around, and then they saw that and didn't want to just straight up, quote, rip it off, so they changed it to be more of just a progression enemy of like he's going to force you for somewhere else, and while you're in that force, if you knock him down, you'll get an upgrade, 2 upgrades for your pistol, you'll get some shotgun, you'll get some flame rounds or whatever. But they're all at points of like when you're running away and you're not in the middle of a prelude to a boss fight. And again, it's just more cinematic progression. There isn't, now I'm in this place, I'm going to check it out and scope this out. Nope, you're not. That's just progression of story. It's nothing else. So, definitely weird. And again, to me, falls under this overarching umbrella statement of like, they wanted the game to be easy. The level design is extremely easy, straightforward, super linear. I think some journalists just misunderstood what the hell fast traveling is and just confused fast traveling, the player control fast traveling, and cinematic progression of teleporting you to another place to play. Because that happens throughout this game. And it's not at your control or discretion, really. It's just the progression of the game, the end. So, and then grenades are just OP, just randomly. Just the frag grenades, like an actual hand grenade you throw at them, that kills literally almost everything in one hit. And downs Nemesis with one thing. So basically, if you just save your frags just for Nemesis, you'll get all your upgrades super easily. You just, boop, you just kill him once at the end. So either he needed more HP, which I don't think that part, more so just the frags need to be nerfed. And if you threw at him or something, he should have caught it with a tentacle and throw it back at you or something. Something. Rather than just, okay, you just rolled a frag and you just downed him. Congrats. So, all that to say, there's a lot of negative review comments there. It's obviously a beautiful game. It controls great. I really wish they kept defense items. I think having defense items and your dodge ability would have been primo. Just because the skill bar or level or skill gap for using dodge accurately, it's there. It's not just like defense items where like, oh, I'm just going to hit it, I'm dodging in slow-mo and I'm doing crazy shit. It's not. You know, you have to time it correctly. Especially with zombies, the most numerous creature. Like, they have a very fast or sometimes very zero frame like startup of lunging and attacking you, so it fucks you up. To put it super bluntly. So it's hard. It's not the easiest thing to do. Like, there's a skill gap there. There's a skill curve to like you learn and do that perfectly, consistently. So I think both of those should have been in there, and the shooting segments, like horde segments almost, with like horde as in Gears of War horde, with like Carlos. It kind of reminded me more of like RE4 when they're like in the house and the villagers, because they just dissolve into nothing. You know, I get it. But they were also coming out of darkness. The room was constantly dark. So it wasn't just broad daylight, essentially. And you can see clearly like these neighboring zombies just fall in there, and you can't kill them until they fall in. And you can't. It just was executed oddly. It just looked kind of weird. So, I mean, I didn't really care for those, but the game gives you plenty of ammo to take care of that stuff. Just like the shower room in the RPD of Carlos. You can get 2 flashes and a frag. Just throw a flash and a frag, boom, they're all dead. And just move on. It's super easy. If you try to gung-ho it, or I want to kill a zombie at a time, even though it's like 7 dudes, like, don't do that. Just throw a flash and a frag. So, my biggest complaint with the game, again, is that the overall design of the game was like philosophy. It seemed like make the game easy. That's my biggest complaint. With the enemy, the ammo, the super linear progression, Nemesis use. Yeah, they could have done a much better job with this. I think. So, again, my initial thought after this game, when I beat it the first time, it's great, it's awesome. But after playing it for like 17 hours now, and I'll still keep playing it because I bought it and I enjoy it because it's very arcadey. After you, especially once you unlock infinite ammos and stuff, it's very arcadey. It's just like fun to shoot stuff. But after thinking about it, um, yeah, I'd probably give it like an 8.3. Honestly, and I didn't even get into like the reduction of gore and dismemberment and stuff like that from RE2 from RE3 because that's noticeable. They got rid of the impactfulness of like shotgun shots. The shotgun is wildly inaccurate. It makes no sense. Even with all max upgrades, it does not work the same way as Leon's shotgun in RE2. It's stupid how crazy that spread goes. It's ridiculous. But yeah, the more I think about it, I think like this game's like an 8.3. I can't go higher than that. There's too many things that either were changed because they wanted to stand out or their overall design decisions was poor. But I'd say this game's like an 8.3, maybe 8.2 or 1, just because some things were changed or modified because they wanted to be more action oriented or quote difficult, like a super soft what's the word, like a placebo effect of like being harder. It's not. It's not. Especially when the game is literally designed to be super easy. Like, yeah, I would say it's like an 8.3. Yeah. So I'd recommend to play it. Absolutely. I definitely want to buy it more than once for sure. If you can get it on sale, get it on sale. But I still enjoy it. But yeah, it's definitely to me an inferior game to RE2 Remake. And if any future Resident Evils get made, while I appreciate them removing some of the backtracking, well, they removed backtracking entirely. There's like none. So RE2's remake had the perfect amount of backtracking, or the option to backtrack. Perfect amount. This one has 0. And Nemesis doesn't act like Mr.X at all, of where he just plagues, quote, a time frame of the game, or be a super boss at the end. He is literally just a force to make you progress. So with that, that's my final thoughts. Definitely recommend the game, but if you want to wait till it's a little bit cheaper or just rent it, could not blame you. 8.3. Let me know if you have any thoughts or anything like that. But thanks and have a good day.